seriously.
Welcome back to
No, but seriously. The podcast where we keep it honest, keep it real, but not too serious.
I'm Anna.
And I'm Jamaica.
So, happy Mother's Day
Yeah.
to all the mothers out there, an honorary of Mother's Day. Today we're going to talk about just pregnancy, to be honest. Jamaica and I do not have kids. Before y'all flood the comments with Happy Mother's Day.
Yeah, no kids over here.
Yeah, no kids. None of our own kids. And Jamaica and I have had some of these conversations because as we get older and the way society reminds women that you can't have kids after a certain age and that we should be, and I mean, at least for me personally, like people start asking me like, are you thinking of getting married? Are you thinking of having kids? You know, and they give us a timeline.
Yeah.
So we've had some of these conversations already about our thoughts on pregnancy, our fears, anxiety. So we're just going to dive into it today.
Yeah. Yeah. Excuse me. I think what started the conversation was like a few weeks ago I got asked when you're going to have when are you going to have some Jamaicas
or something?
Yeah, running around. Yeah. And I'm like, and a man asked me that.
Right, and it makes it worse when a man asks.
Right. Don't ask me that.
Right, and now that, like, or at least for me, I've been dating recently, and men that I date, that's one of their first questions that they ask. Like, do you want to get married? Do you want to have kids in the future? And I'm sitting there at the dinner table like, bro, this is a first date. Like, these are some tough questions to ask. Like, you know, but then I look back and I've like, I don't know if anybody has recently gone on dating apps, but I have. And one of the questions on there is like, are you open to getting married? Are you open to children? And then it helps you filter out to them people that answer yes if you answered yes. So, like, it's everywhere. Like,
yeah.
You can't escape it.
Yeah, like that has to be on your mind. Kids, right. I mean, marriage is another thing, but, like, kids for sure. I mean, especially as women, and, you know, God forbid we say, no, I don't want to have kids.
And then we're judged.
Yeah, we are.
Like, oh, you're never going to fill that void, you know, and it's like, for those that don't want children, I'm like, they don't want it for a reason. And, you know, that don't mean that they're unhappy.
Yeah. You know? Yeah. And then I think for me, it's the opposite because I really want to have kids so bad, you know. So it's like, it's not something I want to talk about with, like, as like a random topic. It's like small talk. Like, it's not small talk.
Right. That's why I'm like sitting at the dinner table, like, you just asked me what I do for work, and your next question is, do you want kids?
Right. Especially when it's something like I think about constantly. I always thinking about, like, I'm 32 now, like, and I want to have kids. I don't want to be too old for my kids, you know, or kid. Because I only want one.
Thing that, like, I was going to say, like, kid, like, you know, that's another thing too. Like, if you were to say, yes, I do want kids, and the next question is, well, how many do you want?
And then you kind of shamed. I feel like I've been a little shamed because of the fact that I only want one. You know?
I can see that because they're like, oh, they're going to grow up alone.
Yeah. Like, but I only want one. And I think when you pressure a woman into, one, having kids that she doesn't want, or two, having more than she wants, like, that's just a recipe for disaster too.
Right.
But yeah, I want kids so bad, so it's something I think about all the time, and, you know, you know, and I worry, like, if I'm gonna have them, can I have them?
Oh, that's a big one.
You know, because you don't know if you can have them or not unless you're trying. Yep. I'm not trying to have them, you know, so I won't know until I actually try to have them.
Yep.
And so that's a little scary to think about, like, when I'm like, okay, I want a baby. And then I go start trying, and then I can't.
And it's like month after month, and you're like, what's going on?
Yeah. I think that there's been times that I'm, like, sad that I don't have a kid already, but, like, there's also, like, a huge chunk of times that I'm like, I'm glad I don't have them yet because I haven't been ready,
Oh,
emotionally, and mentally. I mean, emotionally, I may have felt ready, but mentally, and lifestyle wise, I definitely wasn't there.
I can say I have not been nowhere near
Mm-hmm.
ready. I have a dog, okay? And that dog already, like, my mom hates that I do that, right?
Mm-hmm.
That, like, I don't compare a dog to a kid, but, like, the responsibility, some of them, right?
Mm-hmm.
If I go on vacation, I have to make sure that,
Mm-hmm.
I find a sitter for a dog. Just like if I were to go out, I need to find a sitter for my kid.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm not financially ready to have a kid.
Yeah, that's another thing.
Like,
I feel like I'm pretty good off financially for myself.
right. Not to bring in another human being.
Mm-hmm.
And two, I'm not ready mentally. Like, I've thought about, like, how would I raise this kid, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I've seen the struggles, right, that some parents have had, especially because I know I would want my kid to speak both languages, and even as simple as that, like, I've seen parents struggle with that. So I'm like, I don't even think I'm mentally ready. I come home drained. Sometimes I go home from work and I knock out. I have a kid. I can't do that.
Yeah.
I won't have that luxury anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, to just do what you want, when
Right.
you want. Yeah, how you want.
So I'm like, am I anywhere near? Probably not. If God were to give me one, I'm like, it would have to be a lot of thinking, because I'm like, I also wouldn't want this kid to grow up in a, crazy environment either.
Mm-hmm.
That's another thing too that I've thought about.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the biggest part is to, I mean, obviously we could have had kids by now if we wanted to, if we really wanted to.
I was going to say, if I really wanted to, yes.
Like if it was that, we could have been trying. But a big reason I haven't is because of the people I've been with. Like I have never really felt like any of the men that I've been with would be good fathers. Or would be a good enough father for me to co-parent with.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I think the last dude that I was with, I look and I'm like, yeah, no, I don't think we'd be able to co-parent at all.
Mm-hmm. Somebody I would be tied to, like, in that way for the rest of my life. I haven't met anybody, but there's one person who I feel like would be a great father. But we have some huge relationship issues that having a kid is not even there
on the table, right?
Yeah. But
there's a difference between being a great dad and co-parenting, though.
Yeah.
There's a difference there.
That's true. Right. I think he'd be a great dad, but I don't think we could co-parent because we can't even, like, communicate very well.
Right. My ear's starting to itch. Bro, I don't think we're supposed to be doing this
See,
topic.
my throat scratchy, your ear itching.
Oh, man. There's something else happening. We got to stop. Another thing that I've thought about is my sister don't ask why she had this, okay, first of all. But she had one of those, like, inflatable, like, bellies.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So she had, okay, so I'm just going to bit backstory before people start judging. She had it because she was going to be Santa for her kids at her job. Okay, so she had the inflatable belly so that she can have, like, a belly. So I had seen it once, and she, like, explained that to me. And then I put it on. I was like, oh, this is how it looked like if I was pregnant, you know? Which I would look, pretty cute if I was pregnant, But as I, like, was, I had it on and I was, like, hyping myself up being pregnant and stuff. I sat down and then I was like, the fear I have of giving birth is so huge. Like, my mom, when she had me, she lost a lot of blood. And she tells me that she feels like she passed away. She was like, I was in the tunnel, I saw the light. She's like, the only reason she was walking towards the light.
She said she saw the light.
Yeah.
Wow.
She said the only reason she didn't keep going towards the light is because she heard a baby crying. Because I was born at that time.
Wow.
So she expresses to me that she heard a baby crying, so something told her to go back. And that's my fear. Like, I was like, fuck, what if, like, I lose, like, I died, like, you know, giving birth. And then sadly, my mom tried having another kid, and then she miscarried. And then she finally got pregnant with my sister. And then she had to get a C-section because my mom had difficulties with my sister's pregnancy, right? Or when she was pregnant with my sister. And then she tried having another kid, and she miscarried again. So, like, just seeing my mom go through the struggles of, one, having 2 miscarriages, practically dying when she had me, and then having C-section, like, I was like...
Yeah, I mean, emotionally, that's a lot.
Right.
You know?
Right.
I mean, physically, it's even more, but, like, emotionally, that's a lot.
So I'm like, am I even ready if I were to put in those situations? Am I even ready to go through that?
Yeah.
You know? And that's, like, to me, like, that's the scary part.
Yeah. I mean, that makes sense. I think that's the part I don't even think about. Like, I think about the pregnancy. Like, that's what I'm most excited about, being pregnant. Like, the fact that you can grow a life inside of you is, like, so exciting to me. Like, that is just, like, it's just amazing.
Right.
Like, that, like, something can be growing. Like, a whole person like me can be growing inside of you. Like, that is just so amazing. So that's the part I'm excited about. But you're right. There's so many risks. Like, I don't know how I would recover from, like, a miscarriage if that were to happen. And the emotional, like, the emotions of, like, trying and failing to get pregnant. You know, that terrifies me. You know, and a lot of Black women die in childbirth too.
I think minorities are the ones that, you know, get the impact because also as you're pregnant, other stuff come up. Diabetes comes up, you know.
High blood pressure.
Yep. Like, it just, as amazing as it is. And then you're in a hospital, you're a minority. Like, some doctors are not gonna, not that they won't believe, but they won't understand, like, if you're like, bro, like, I am in excruciating pain, like, they might dismiss that because it's happened, you know?
Yeah, it still happens.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm like, bro, you know, like, those are some fears that have come up, like, as exciting, you know, as it is. And, you know, to know that I might be pregnant and, you know, my little cute belly and, like, the maternity clothes, the little baby clothes, the baby shower and all that stuff. Like, in the back of my head, I was like, bro, but, like, all of this too.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard. I mean, it's just hard. It's hard being a woman who doesn't have kids. You know, like, that's the first question that a lot of people ask. Oh, do you have kids? Like,
oh my God.
That's like one of the first questions that I get.
Yes.
Do you have kids? Do you have kids? And I always feel like a little, you know, hesitation before I say no. And I hate that. I hate that little hesitation that I get.
When I've bumped into people I haven't seen in a while, first question is, are you married? And I'm like, no. And they'll be like, oh, okay, that's good. Like, yeah, live your life. And the next question is usually, oh, well, do you have kids? And I'll say no.
And you don't have either.
You know, I know. Well, that's a different thing.
Yeah, now we on the downhill conversation because I just had to say no to both your questions.
Right. But then they don't respond to the, like, not having the kids, right? Like, if it's marriage, they're like, oh, okay, good, live your life. But when I say no, I don't have kids, like, nobody says anything. Majority of people don't say anything positive after that. Some people might say, okay, that's good, yeah, like, you'll have kids later, but usually they don't say nothing after.
Yeah. And then the older you get, the more people around you that have kids, and then the more that kids are a topic of conversation. It's like everybody's in the break room talking about their kids, and I'm just sitting there like,
right,
can't relate.
Right. Like, that is me currently right now. Like, you know, I love my coworkers, right? But they'll be going on play dates with each other's kids, you know. There's actually well, we're dropping this after Mother's Day. But there is a birthday party on the 13th, and they're doing it at like a not fun house, but like I guess like an indoor like trampoline fun house thing or whatever. And my coworker really wants me to go, so he literally was like, "Can you borrow a kid and like you can go?" And I was like,
it's so awkward. It's so awkward. I actually like hate getting invited to kids' birthday parties because I don't have a kid.
Right. And then my other coworker, like, she's so sweet. She was like, "Well, you can borrow one of mine, you know, because she's going." And then I'm like, it's not that I like wouldn't, right? Like, I'm like, it's just I love that you guys are thinking of me, right? And you want me to go. I'm like, but I don't have a kid.
Right. And then the fact that I have to go borrow somebody else's kid. You know, like that is just like, oh, it's so cringy to me.
Right.
Like I've gone to like birthday parties, but it's always like awkward as hell when you come in there and you don't have a kid with you.
Right. You know, and I was like, I know they're not doing it with malintent or anything.
Yeah, I mean, it's nice if they want to include you. It's just like,
it's already hard enough for me to be almost 30 and like, you know, when I was 18, I would have thought I had at least a kid or at least had a partner by now, you know? Yeah. So those thoughts are already in my head, and then for somebody to just, you know, bring that up, like, it's hard. But
yeah, I mean, I used to have this like deadline for myself. Like, I wanted to have a kid by the time I turned 25.
Yeah, I had that too.
But and here we are at 32. Yeah. 32. I mean, I feel like I gave up on that. I mean, it was like an ideal goal of mine, but it wasn't like, oh my God, my life is over if I don't. You know?
Oh, no, yeah. But I had that same timeline because I was like, 25, you're not too old, you're not too young, you know?
I've still been able to like have my fun. Yes. You know, that was the thinking in my head. It's like 25 would have been ideal. But, you know, we passed that. And,
it is what it is. Another thing that's that worries me, right? Aside from my age, right? And like, do I need to go freeze my eggs, right? Another thing that's come up is my parents. My parents are on the older side, you know, and I wouldn't want it to be that they can't meet their grandchildren or, you know, they can't run around and play with them or anything like that. I've seen my dad with like other babies, right, that my cousins have had or whatever the case is, and my dad is just so excited around them. And I'm like, he would be a great granddad, but I'm like, bro, you pushing to like 75. Like, you know, like, and I hate saying that,
bro,
right?
You pushing it.
Yeah, like I'm like, you know, if I wait another 5 years, my dad's gonna be 80. Like, my dad's not gonna be able to move around.
I did not know your dad was that old.
No, my dad is old.
I had no idea.
Wait, let me figure out the exact age. But my dad is old. He was born in what?
So he's not 75.
Let me figure out. So he was born in 64.
No, he's not 75.
He is.
No, my mom was born in 65. He's not that old. You had me thinking you had a senior citizen dad.
No, wait, is it 65? 60.
My mom was born in 65.
60. No, because that can't be his age. I'm getting the years wrong. Because my mom is like
75.
Because my mom is. My mom was born in.
Let's do the math here.
My mom was born in. No, I think that's my mom's year.
It's 64.
Yeah, I want to say that's my mom's year. So then my dad is. Let me ask my sister.
That fits your mom. I mean, your mom looks around the age.
I think
of my
dad is 51.
That's not old.
Yes, it is.
That's not 75.
72.
Your dad's 72?
I just made, okay.
He was born in 51, you're
yes.
saying. Oh, I thought you said he's 51.
No, I'm pretty sure he was born in 51. He's 72. See, I told you my dad is.
Wow, your dad is old.
Right. Okay, my mom is 64. Yeah, my mom is 64. My dad is 51. 51.
Born 52. In 51.
Yeah, my dad was born in 51, 52, around there.
Your dad is.
So my dad
as
is in
old
the 70s.
As my grandma.
Yes, my dad is in his 70s. Oh my
gosh, I had no idea.
Because my dad didn't get married.
Your dad does not look that old.
Oh, no. I'm grateful that my dad does not look that old.
He does not look that old at all.
And I'm grateful that my dad is able to still walk and run. He can still go to the gym with me, if, you know, when he wants to.
Oh, your dad's much older than your mom.
Yeah, they're like a good 13, 14 years
Yeah.
difference. Yeah. That's how I was like, maybe that's how I'm like, no, the numbers must have been switched. So yeah, so my dad is a senior citizen.
Wow.
You know, so I'm like, yeah, everybody wait a
So
couple.
your dad was, how old was your dad when he had you?
Bro, he was like almost 40, I think.
But you see the difference there? Like,
Yes.
men, like, I don't think it was that big of a deal for him to have.
No, yeah, my dad was able to give sperm 4 times, you know, to my mom. Like, you know, but it, you know, yeah, like he was old when he got married. He was older when he got married, and you know, older when he finally had me. So yeah, my dad is a full-on senior citizen, and he got no grandchildren. So like, it scares me. Like,
I get it. I get it now. I had no idea. Wow.
Yeah, like, but nobody knows because he don't look 70.
No, he does not at all.
No.
Wow.
I'm like, you know, so
he looks good for 72.
Yeah, and I'm grateful for that because my dad like had shingles at one point, right?
Yeah.
So like,
now it all makes sense. Oh my goodness! Wow.
So I'm like, if he went through that shingles, right? And and I'm like, on top of all this stuff, and unfortunately, like, cancer does run in my dad's family. Like, my aunt had breast cancer; she's a survivor, but a lot of other illnesses have come up from that, and I'm like, bro, like I'm scared that something's gonna happen and you won't see them because you are getting older, you know.
Yeah,
I'm like, my mom, you know, she's 60 technically, or almost 60, so I'm like, she got a little bit of time.
Yeah,
but I'm like, no, yeah, my dad.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh, my little old dad. But I'm glad he doesn't look like everybody tells me. They're like, your dad don't look, you know, that old.
Yeah.
But and then my sister, she's 4 years younger than me.
Right. So he had you and then her. Yeah.
And we're 4 years apart. So by the time my sister even wants to have kids,
right,
if she wants to,
like, the chances get even lower.
That's how I'm like. That's how me and my sister were just at Target like 2 days ago. We passed by the baby section, and she goes, "I can't wait till you have a kid." And I'm like, "You not having them? Like, you know, I was like, what if you have them before me? You know?" Yeah. And she just laughed it off, and she's like, "I'm gonna spoil your kid." So I don't even know if she wants to with all of that being said, but yep.
I mean, it's exciting to think about having them, you know, but it's also anxiety producing and worrisome to think about not having them, you know. So it's just like, it feels like either way, you know, you don't win, you know. And I'm sure, like, once we do have them, it'll be very, very difficult.
Oh, 100%.
You know, like, we're not trying to minimize how hard it is to be a mother. But I think it hurts my feelings so bad when there's like women that have kids and don't want them. Ooh. You know. And that's, I mean, it is okay. Like, I get it. You don't want kids. And I definitely don't want anybody having kids to have them. Like, I have seen so many pregnant women as clients who are just unsure about having kids. And I've seen a lot more this past year that are pregnant for the first time and they didn't even want kids, you know. And it hurts, you know, it hurts to hear that. You know, but I definitely don't want them having kids if they don't want them.
Oh, know? 100%. Like,
you know, I'm definitely all for not having a kid if you don't want it.
Right, 100%. Like, and my first job out of college was working for DCFS. So I you know, there's been times where I had to remove a kid from a home, you know. And it's sad to see some of the cases come in, you know, where a kid has a broken ribs that the mom caused, you know. And that goes back to that, right? And also there's other factors. Sometimes it's postpartum, right? They might get frustrated with the baby and, you know, and I get that too, right? But then that's another fear of mine. Like, I have a friend who had a kid, and the way she described what she felt during postpartum, I'm like, bro, like,
yeah, it's hard. It is really hard.
And nobody talks about that either. Nobody talks about postpartum. There's, like, I haven't seen like resources for moms for postpartum. you know, and
Mhm.
she struggled so much through
Mhm.
it. Like, she distanced herself from everybody. Like, she was going through it alone.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, bro, that's scary.
Yeah. I think it's just a lot of women too that just feel the pressure to have the kid, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And feel bad for saying that they don't want kids, you know, and that like that's your truth, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd rather you be honest about that and not have them
Right.
than to like just kind of make yourself be okay with it.
Right. So shout out to all
Mhm.
the moms that have kids, love their
Mhm.
kids, were able to push through the
Yeah.
pregnancy and
Yeah,
have the
who made it
kid.
through postpartum.
Yeah, that too. You know, like, y'all the real MVPs. And I think um we we need to appreciate moms more.
Mhm.
We do, and sometimes we forget to do it.
Yeah.
Of course, I understand not all moms, right? You know, but it is a struggle
Yeah. Yeah.
to
And
go through
I
all of that.
mean, we're not going to be perfect at it. Nobody's
No.
perfect at it.
Mm-mm.
But it doesn't mean that you wouldn't be a good mom still.
Right.
You know, I do worry about the mistakes I'm going to make, you know. I do worry that like some of the things that I didn't appreciate about like being a kid that like my kid will feel that. Like, you know, like
Mm.
I really hope that my trauma is not
Mm.
pushed onto them. Like I really hope that I do my best job to not do that.
Mm.
You know.
That's you speaking facts right now because um I that's one of my fears,
Mhm.
right? Like um generational trauma is a real thing,
Mhm.
right? And as I'm getting older, like I'm trying to break some of those, you know. In my family, there's a lot of single moms, or there's been a lot of DV, right?
Mhm.
So like as I'm like in a way picking a partner, like I'm keeping that in mind, you
Mhm.
know. Um, and I've I've thought about that. Like I'm like, am I gonna pass some of this on to you unintentionally, unconsciously?
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
like
yeah.
that's one of my fears. Like, am I gonna continue with this generational thing?
Right. And I think what worries me is that so many times we try so hard to not be like our parents or to not do things that our parents did that we didn't
Mm-hmm.
agree with, that we end up doing those things
Right.
or we end up doing it doing being worse, you
Right.
know, like than what we intend to,
Right.
you know. And that's why I'm hoping that, you know, I've been healing enough to like not put that on my kid, you know. And I'm gonna always continue to try the healing, but you know,
That's why
it worries me.
we going to therapy. That's why we,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
to so that doesn't hopefully happen,
Mhm.
right, when that time comes. But that's yeah, that's something too that's come up where I'm like, damn,
It's scary,
it is, it is.
you know. And we're talking about it, you know, as if we're just the mom. You know, we haven't even factored into a dad in
No,
this picture, you know.
but I think they might have, and I'm just assuming, right, that they might
Mhm.
have some of these same thoughts. You
Mhm.
know, um, the last guy that I was with, we had a conversation about like, you know, because he kept pushing like, well, you want kids and I don't, right?
Mhm.
And I said, yeah. And I was trying to figure out, you know, like, what are your thoughts? Like, why don't we want to have kids?
Mhm.
And that was the thing he said, mental health. Like, he was like, I don't want, you know, any of this going on in my head passing on to the kid,
Mhm.
you
Mhm.
know? And I was like, I understand that completely, right? I'm like, but that doesn't necessarily mean it'll happen,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know?
It's so many parents worried about that though. I have a mom that I've been working with for over a year now. And she is so worried. I mean, she's working so hard to you know to deal with her trauma and work through her anxiety and her depression. And we do a lot of good work together, but she is so worried that her daughter will feel as
Mm.
abandoned as she felt,
Mm.
you know. And she puts so much pressure on herself, um, to make sure that her daughter doesn't, you know, and so much undue pressure. Like it's not warranted, but I get where it comes from. Like it's so much love and concern that she has for her daughter that she doesn't want her to remotely feel the way she's felt.
Right.
And it's hard. I have a hard time with sessions with her, you know. And she got pregnant again. And she had a really traumatic pregnancy with her first child, with her daughter. And she had those same fears that you had or that you have about like pregnancy and childbirth. And she was like, she's scared that she's going to die, you know. She didn't. She was able to get through it.
Right.
You know. And so it's just like real life examples that I have to hear every day. That's not easy, you know. It's not easy to hear.
Especially like if we've had, you know, some of those same thoughts, you know.
Yeah. And as much as, you know, therapists try to remain impartial and all that, and for the most part I do, it's just like it's hard not to think about your own situation, you know, when you hear things like that.
Yeah. And my other fear is like how you mentioned like way early on, like the fear of not being able to have kids, you know. Because we don't know, how you said, we won't know until we start trying. And then society pushes like you have to be at a certain age, you know, and I'm like, bro, you're probably right for all I know.
Yeah. And then I think like, but then I see so many examples of so many women even older than me having kids, and I'm like, that comforts me, and I'm like, okay, calm down, girl, it is okay, you know, like that's how I talk through those anxious thoughts. But it is so scary because then I think about, is this even God's plan for me?
Oh my, that's been one of my biggest things. I've had, so like I've been told like if God put those thoughts in your head, then most likely that's what he has planned for you.
I believe that. I do believe that, but I do get the anxious thought of like, what if I'm wrong about that? You know, like, what if that's just something I say to make myself feel better?
Right.
You know?
Like I've had those same thoughts, and I'm like, because I'd be like looking up at God, like, God, I'm 29 and I don't even have a boyfriend. Like,
yeah, that's the thing too. It's like, I don't even feel like I'm in a relationship enough to even be like, okay, let's have kids.
Right.
You know?
Right. And I'm like, God, like, at what point, you know? And everybody's like, you know, God's perfect timing, and, you know, and I'm like, okay, well, God, you need to hurry it up. Like, you know, let me at least be able to have somebody to have that conversation with, you know? But we're not even there.
Yeah.
And I don't want to have a kid within 6 months of me knowing this person. Yeah. You know? So
but maybe that's the timing. Maybe that's the plan.
Well, God better give me the, you know, the right.
You know, we create our own timelines of like, okay, I need to meet somebody. I need to be dating them for a year and a half, and then I'll bring up having, you know, like.
But God better prepare me, because 6 months after meeting somebody, God, he must be a great man then. Because,
he might be the match. But then I just like, I'm not ready yet. For some reason, God thinks I'm not ready yet. So I just try to like do everything that I can.
Clearly I'm not, because we're both in weird situations.
Yes,
with
we
men.
are both in very weird situations with men, and yes, we are not ready.
Yes, no, like when I look back and I read some of those text messages or you know, go back to some of those conversations, I'm like, God, you 100% right. Why did I doubt you?
Yes.
You and I both know I'm not ready, especially with that person. That's a whole different episode though, but like, yeah, clearly I'm not, and clearly you have me trying to figure out some lessons that you're putting there for me that I'm clearly not listening or not wanting to learn from. Yeah. And maybe once I learn that, maybe God is gonna be like, now you're ready. Now is your time. Now you're gonna shine after this, you know. But I just hope that he amazing them, because right now it don't look like it.
It's more important to me to have a kid, you know, than to have a life partner. Ideally, I will meet somebody and I want to spend the rest of my life with, and we would have kids and be happily ever after, whatever, you know. But if it doesn't work out as far as like our relationship and we have a kid, I would still feel very fulfilled, you know.
Would you go to sperm bank at some point then, if that was the case?
I don't know. I don't know.
Or would you adopt?
I don't know. I think that I've obviously, not obviously, but I have thought about like being a foster parent. Like several years ago, I was actually like looking into it, being a foster parent. But I was thinking like short term, like emergency placement. Not like a long term foster parent.
Because you have to be open for adoption if it's long term.
Yeah, see, I was thinking like emergency placement. A kid gets removed, needs somewhere to stay for the night.
For the
or
night, and
something.
they gotta
Yeah,
go
like
home.
I was thinking like that. But so I've been open to like being a foster parent. I just don't know if because the idea of pregnancy,
Right.
like that's like I don't want to miss out on pregnancy,
Right.
you know.
Yeah. I thought of going to the sperm bank. I was like, I get to choose.
Yeah.
But
You know, I think I would even be open to, even if for some reason it's my eggs, you know, like if it was another woman's eggs and the sperm got implanted, I would be okay with that.
like a surrogate?
But but I give birth. You know what I mean?
That's why. Like you would be.
So you know how like lesbian couples will have the egg of the one that's not going to be pregnant, and a man will get implanted into the like I would want
but
that.
You wouldn't keep the baby.
I would keep the baby.
No. But in that situation, that'd be like
no, like if I think women donate their eggs.
Oh, do they?
I think.
I don't know.
I think they do.
I thought those situations were only because like the lesbian couple technically can't have like their.
I know, but if they can do it, why can't I?
I mean, that's true, I guess.
Like, I mean, if I found a woman that would give me her eggs.
So, like, if you, like, let's say your eggs
like
weren't
if
fertile.
If my eggs for some reason would not allow me to get pregnant.
Right, okay.
You know, like I would have a kid that way. It doesn't necessarily have to be biologically mine. I do, but I just want to experience of pregnancy. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought
it sounds weird.
No, but I like initially, I guess I must have like not hear. Initially,
I used to think about being a surrogate.
That's what, like, initially, that's what I thought you were saying. Like, so you can have experience. But then I was like, wait, no, you wouldn't keep the kid.
Yeah, no, but I would want to keep my kid.
Right.
Because it would be mine.
Right. I mean.
Yeah. I wouldn't want to be a surrogate for somebody else's. But, like, if somebody else's egg, I don't care about that. As long as I get to experience pregnancy.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So the biology, I guess, of the kid doesn't really matter. Doesn't really matter that much to me. Excuse me.
Yeah. You just want the experience to say you were pregnant.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's a lot. It's a lot that I think women don't talk about enough either, of like all of these things that come up when talking about having kids, being pregnant, you know, and then dating and seeing, right?
Yeah. Yeah, because you have to factor in, you know, the dating part of that, you know.
And nowadays, a lot of people don't want kids, too. That's another thing. Because the society we
I
live
have
in.
not, I mean, thankfully, I guess, because that would be a big point of contention. And I wouldn't be able to continue with somebody who didn't want kids.
Right.
I haven't met anybody that.
Well, I've met mine.
Yeah, that's big, and I think that's not something you can get over. That's a huge.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my gosh. See how difficult this topic is? I'm dying over here.
Yeah. No, I agree. It's not something that you would change your mind about.
Yeah.
And that's a conversation I had with him, because he kept telling me, like, well, I think you think I'm going to change my mind. And I was like, no, bro, you 32 years old. If you wanted to change your mind, you would have done it a long time ago.
Yeah.
I'm like, so it's not going to change anytime soon.
Yeah. We can't be in the business of trying to change somebody's mind about that. You know, like, that's a huge responsibility. That's a huge life changer.
And that's what I told him. I was like, that's because we had a conversation, and he was like, well, I'm open to living together, but
Mm-hmm.
and that was like another thing too, right? But I'm like, you're not going to change your mind. I'm not going to sit here and wait for you to change your mind, because that's not my role.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but you also need to figure out your own shit
Yeah.
too.
Yeah. There's things that you can be flexible on, and there are things that are deal breakers. And if you don't want to have a kid, that's a deal breaker for me.
Yeah. Well.
Because I'm having a kid.
Oh yeah. Regardless. Period.
So, if you don't want to have a kid,
I'm still fearful, but I do want my dad to play with the little kid of mine.
Yeah. So we gotta make that happen.
I know, and quick. So I'm single, 29.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Any other thoughts as we close?
No, not really. I'm just excited for when we both have kids.
I'm scared but excited at the same time. I think it would be fun. I would be excited to shop for your baby. I can say that. I know my sister's excited for you to have kids too. She had mentioned it too.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I mean, she's excited for anybody to have a kid right now. But yeah, they have little play dates. That'd be fun.
Yeah. Our kids will be friends.
Let's hope. But yeah, I don't have any other thoughts. It's a tough topic to talk about. And basically this topic can go on for hours too if we really wanted to. But with that being said, happy Mother's Day to all the moms out there.
Yeah, yeah. And congratulations to all the moms who do have children.
And the moms to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that will one day be us.
Hopefully.
Yeah. And we feel for the moms who have had struggles.
Yeah. Going through it,
Yeah, like me right now. Oh my God.
All right. So before Jamaica ends up, having a whole coffin attack here, we've come into a session. Thank you for, listening. And I'm glad you made it this far.
The session, like we client. This is our therapy session.
I mean, it's our therapy session.
I'd be like, your time is up.
But feel free to follow us on all our social media platforms.
Yeah.
And it's at
MBS Pod.
Yeah.
On TikTok and Instagram.
And YouTube.
Yes, YouTube. So if you're listening to this and want to see us, you can go to our YouTube channel.
And one of the next topics that we're going to be doing is we have a Father's Day special.
Yeah.
Where we're going to talk to have some guests come, hopefully.
And some single fathers.
Yes, some single fathers and the struggles that we might not understand of being a single dad.
Yeah.
Because there's struggles for being a single mom as well. So that'll be coming up hopefully soon. Any other last thoughts, remarks?
No, just share this with somebody, anybody who you think might like it. Leave us some feedback, some comments. And we'll see y'all next time.